David Jones, what's up, my brother? How are you doing? Good to see you. I hope you're doing well. What are the best exercises for men over 30, men over 40, men over 50, in my case, men over 60, right? All over the internet, on YouTube, you'll see videos. This is the best exercise for a certain age. If you're over 50, do this exercise to build muscle. If you're over 40, everything at every age, they make it seem like now there's a magic set of exercises that you have to do in order to get yourself in shape, in order to build muscle and things like that. The fundamentals build muscle for people of any age. It doesn't matter. That doesn't change. A lot of these guys, and I get what they're doing, they're trying to appeal to a certain niche, to a certain age group, and guys say, okay, I'll start doing this exercise. When you come into the gym, if you have a gym membership, you don't scan your card to get into the gym, and then they say, oh, you're over 40? Okay, you go over that way because there's certain weights and machines for your type of exercise. Or you're over 50? Okay, you go over to the right here and you go do your specific exercises, right? It's never going to change, guys. It's always going to be the fundamentals. It's always going to be the fundamental moves. Now, if you have the benefit of youth on your side, you can lift heavier, maybe you could do more. That doesn't say that as you age, you still can't be strong and you still can't compete with the young guys. You know what I mean? But there's always going to be basic moves. There's going to be, really what it comes down to is some type of vertical push, which means something overhead, which would be obviously a shoulder press, and that could be with a barbell, it could be with dumbbells, it could be with a resistance band, it could be body weight. If you do, say, like a pike push-up, right? That's equivalent to a vertical push. You want some type of a horizontal push, which is going to be some type of chest press. It could be a bench press with a barbell. It could be dumbbells. Could be a push-up, right? You want to do some type of vertical pull, and that's going to be just a basic pull-up or a chin-up. It could be on a machine at the gym. It could be a lat pull-down machine, a cable machine. Some type of horizontal pull, and that would be some type of row, right? Again, if you're at the gym, you could do some type of a cable row. If you're at the park, you could do an inverted row, right, off the parallel bars. It's the fundamentals, guys. It's never going to change. So again, for all these guys, on the internet, on YouTube, that are trying to make you think that at a certain age, there's going to be this magic exercise that's all of a sudden going to give you, the ability to build muscle, quicker than somebody else, Now, of course, you have to take into consideration that if you've been doing it over time and your body does change over time, right? You may develop some type of limitation. You may have some type of injury. You know what I mean? Maybe your range of motion isn't as good, but you can still always do something. You can still always do something. And when I say do something, I mean do the basics. Do the basic moves. I was watching a guy the other day, and it was, we get into the whole thing with these guys with the TRT, with the steroids, and this guy was obviously, it was so obvious that it was ridiculous. That he was, let's say he was enhanced, right? We'll just use that term. With what, I don't know, but it was a lot of stuff. It was a lot of stuff. So he was saying the best way to build your shoulders, and he claimed to be an over 50 guy. He was or wasn't, I don't know. But he was using a side lateral raise with dumbbells, saying this is the best way over 50 to build muscle with an isolation movement. It's ridiculous. It's nonsense. Now, can you use the isolation movements in addition to your basic move, to a basic shoulder press move? Of course. I mean, You want to work the front of your shoulders with a front raise, a side raise, some rear flies. Absolutely. But, the guy's shoulders were unbelievable. Again, how we got them, I don't know, and I don't care. But to say that you're going to build size or muscle like that using some type of isolation exercise is just flat out bullshit. It's just flat out bullshit. So, again, it's always going to come down to, we overthink things, and we're always on. I'm over 50, so what's the best exercise to do? It's always going to be, no matter what anybody tells you guys, no matter what they say to you, no matter what they try to convince you of. There's nothing better than the basics. There's nothing better than the fundamentals, right? Things are going to change as you get older, of course. But that doesn't mean you can't be strong, you can't be flexible, you can't be mobile. And again, it doesn't mean you can't keep up with the young guys. It absolutely does not mean that. But again, that universal law in life, right? What you don't use, you lose. So if you've had a layoff, if you haven't worked out for some years, you have to ease your way back in, right? So again, resistance is always going to come from, resistance is resistance, whether it comes from your body weight or it comes from a barbell, it comes from a dumbbell, it comes from a rubber band. It doesn't matter. It's still resistance, right? So many guys go into the gym and they think they have to go balls to the wall every single time, right? But you always want to take consistency over intensity. It's much better to do, level 5 every day or 5 or 6 days a week than to just go to the gym one day a week and go level 10 and then take a week off, if that makes sense, right? So that's what it comes down to, guys. It's always going to be the basic moves on a consistent basis to the best of your ability, right? And stop. We also have this thing where we're always just competing with the next guy. We're looking at the next guy. Well, how come if he could do that, I'm going to do that. Let everybody run their own race. It's not to say you can't garner ideas from other people. If you see other people doing something, you say, I want to try that. I think I could do that. All well and good. That's fine. But run your own race. Look at your circumstances. Where are you at? You know what I'm saying? Look at your, and be realistic about your abilities. Set realistic goals. And the instance I just gave you, let's say you haven't worked out for years and you say, well, I want to start working out again. You're probably not going to start doing it 6 days a week right off the hop. Right? So commit to doing 3 days a week. Make yourself a little schedule. I'm going to put 3 X's on the calendar every week, at least 3 X's. If you get 4, even better. But set realistic goals. Look at the fundamentals. Do the basic moves. And then you just branch off from there. Got David Jones in the house. Mobile Home Geek. What's up, Geek? How you doing? No jacuzzi here, brother. Shout out to Scotland. Hey to you, Danny. What's up? Yo, Beckett. Danny, what should I do to get bigger in my chest? Exactly what I've just been talking about for the past few minutes, the basics. Whatever you have access to. If you have access to the gym, you want to get into the gym and do some type of horizontal push, right? Which is going to be, if you're not at the gym, you're home, you do your push-ups. All variations of push-ups. You want to do a standard push-up, you want to do a decline push-up, you want to do an incline push-up, hit that chest all over, right? And then when you're doing your declines, you're going to bring more shoulder into it. With each move, you're going to be hitting your triceps. So push-ups are always going to be king if you have access to nothing else. That doesn't mean even if you go to the gym, you still can't do your push-ups. But when you're at the gym, what do you have access to? You have access to the barbells. You could do a bench press there. You could do a dumbbell press, right? And with all of them, again, you can do a flat, you can do an incline, you could do a decline, right? They have plenty of machines, weight stack machines. It depends on where you are. But that's the basic move. The basic move is going to be a press, that horizontal press, right? And again, um, there's no magic bullet. There's no magic exercise for any age, or this is going to build the best muscle. You start with the fundamentals. You do that consistently. And then once you get consistent and you're doing the fundamentals consistently, then you could start experimenting and doing other things. Now, when we talk about the chest, of course, the basic move is going to be that press. Then we want to do some isolation moves. We can come in and do some close grip presses. We could do some chest flies. You could do it on the pec machine. It's endless. It's endless. But at the end of the day, to say what's the best way is to do the fundamentals on a consistent basis and eat right. What's up, Isaac? How you doing, brother? Shout out to Arkansas. Yes, David, calisthenics are very good. Maybe not the best for everybody, like we just said, right? It's all specific, but they are very good. I love calisthenics. Back at you, Danny. Appreciate you being here. What's up, Kenny Rogers? Oh, good. Glad to hear that, Ken. Glad you're doing well, brother. Got that mace bell going. Good. I haven't used mine in a bit, actually. I got to get back on that. So. But yeah, guys, no magic bullets. It's consistency. It's the fundamentals. And then, of course, we get into the other stuff. This is a universal rule too, right? It all applies to, again, whether you're 18 or 88 or 7, it doesn't matter. It's all going to be consistency with the fundamentals. We always, you have to look at things, just the basic stuff, like your sleep patterns, because this all comes into play with your ability to gain muscle, right? And are you losing muscle as it's a reality, like I said earlier, what you don't use, you're going to lose. But you can certainly hold on to a good percentage of your muscle mass and you can certainly build muscle up to any age if you're doing the fundamentals consistently. And again, number one with that is going to be diet, because if you're pouring shit down your throat and you think you're going to be building quality muscle and being able to sustain regular workouts at a high intensity or any type of real intensity, it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough if you're not eating right. And that you may not feel it as much when you're younger, but certainly as you go on, as you age with that, the years, the decades, because then all the chronic ailments start coming into play. The high blood pressure, the diabetes, and everything that goes, the inflammation throughout your body, right? So when you do, and at some point we're all going to sustain some type of, whether it's a serious injury, just some type of nagging injury, muscle pulls and things like that. It's going to be harder and harder to come back from that. As we age, and if you're not eating right, if you're not, and again, we always talk about the sleep patterns. That if you have horrible sleep patterns, which I did, and I can attest to it for many, many years, a good portion of my life, horrible sleep patterns. I worked all sorts of different shifts. I very rarely got a good solid 8 hours of sleep. It was always 3 hours here, 4 hours, and it really does, it havoc on your body. Your cortisol levels are through the roof, increases your stress levels, a lot of things. It's just, it's just a bad situation. So you have to look at everything together, right? So if you're a 40-year-old guy, if you're a 50-year-old guy, if you're a 60-year-old guy, I want to build muscle. I want to get myself in shape. I don't care what they tell you on the internet. There's no magic formula. If you want to go the TRT route, if you want to start injecting some type of shit in your body and totally destroy it, that's a personal, that's a personal decision. I think it's the wrong one, but I don't play any part in the way you live your life. So you make that decision. But I think it's very foolish because you could maximize your potential if you're just willing to put the work in. And why wouldn't you be? Why wouldn't you be willing to put the work and the time into your own health? Right? Your own longevity. Why would you want to fall prey to the medical system and be a slave to these doctors and the pharmaceutical companies and taking pills and all this other stuff, injecting, and there's so many people. We talk about this all the time. These guys with the TR, and I know many guys who have taken TRT, and it's just it's not good. And they think it's the fountain of youth, and they think it's the best thing in the world. And they'll say that after taking it for a few weeks, a few months, but it's a lifetime commitment. Because at some point, there's ramifications, guys, for everything you put into your body, down to a glass of water. Right? And if you think you're going to be injecting this stuff into your body and there's going to be no ramifications, you're out of your mind. Your body is brilliant. So at some point, if you're injecting these exogenous hormones, your body's going to stop producing them. And if at some point you try to come off those things, it's going to be a cascade of issues. So again, the fundamentals: consistent, good diet, not 100% diet, because we can't. The processed food, the junk food is here to stay, and it's only going to get worse and worse. So it's up to us individually to fight it off and realize that we have to put quality food in our bodies, the best food we can get. Right? It's not going to be 100%. You're going to have those days, or the parties and the this, and you're going to go off the rails once in a while. But if you're doing the right thing 80% of the time, and you fall off the rails, 15, 20% of the time, I think you're still going to come out on top. I don't think it's going to be that, for most of us, it won't be that much of an issue. So you want to be doing that. Another thing that, I think it's very important at any age. I certainly wasn't too keen on it in my younger days. It really wasn't even on my radar. It certainly is now. But taking into account, not only training to get, because all guys think about when they get into the gym is size. I want to get big. I want to build muscle. But you really have to think about your flexibility and your mobility. You know what I mean? Just functional fitness, which is why, David Jones said earlier, calisthenics is the best. Calisthenics, I believe, is the best when it comes to functional fitness. You know what I mean? Being able to move, mastering your own body weight. Because a lot of the moves with calisthenics are just, you're getting down on the ground, you're getting up, right? A body weight squat, a lunge, you're pulling yourself up, right? So it's functional fitness. But you always want to make sure that you're adding in some type of flexibility and mobility work and things like that. And it doesn't have to be much. It could be, you definitely, obviously, whatever type of workout you do, you're always going to do some type of warm-up prior. And then after your workout, you want to do some type of stretching. And on a day off, you want to call it active recovery. You could make that a light cardio day with some, and incorporate. And again, it doesn't have to be much. It could be a 20-minute stretch session, a 20 or 30-minute yoga routine, which is great. There's no shortage of those routines on YouTube that you can find to do and just follow along. And it could just be a couple of days a week. All right, Kenny. Sounds like you're doing well with that, brother. I'm really glad to hear that. I appreciate you being here, man. I'm glad you're getting some use out of it. All right, Poor Long. Yeah, it's a cool beanie. It's a cool beanie. I'm glad you got one too. Probably looks good on you. Probably looks better on you than it does on me. R free, yeah. I'm 6 foot, about 190, give or take. Kenny, half reps, perfectly fine. I think there's definitely a place for them. We've talked about this before. You know, you have your purists or people that think they're purists and think they know what they're talking about. And they'll tell you, no, you're not doing reps. And it's all about time under tension. A couple of weeks ago, um, I did a push-up routine with a couple of friends of mine. And it was a great routine. And it was basically a combination. It was a push-up routine, and it was a combination of full range of motion with shorties, if you want to call them, right? Partial range, that mid-range of motion. And they are killer. They are killer. So I defy anybody to try and do a couple of hundred of those with any exercise. I mean, I think the example I gave before is, say, let's take like a bicep curl, right? If I take, let's say I have a barbell and I curl it all the way up, and now I'm here. I'm almost in a resting position. I could stand here and talk to you for a little bit with that weight in my hand in this resting position, or if I had it all the way down, right? Now, if I bring it here halfway, where my muscle is contracted, I'm not going to last too long standing there talking to you. So if you do reps in that middle range, that's a lot of time under tension. As opposed to, and you see this all the time too, right? Every day I'm in the gym, I see it. I'll see a guy doing dumbbell curls, and the weight will come down, and they'll take the tension off their arm, and then they're going to hump it up with their back. That little bit of umph with your back sends that weight a long way. People don't realize that, you know. And to prove that point, you can go do some. You could take a couple of dumbbells, the heaviest dumbbells you think you could handle, and do a few reps. Then I want you to go against the wall, and I want you to place your back flat against the wall with the back of your arms against the wall, and try and curl those same dumbbells, and see if you can do it. I guarantee it's going to be a totally different outcome. It's going to be very sobering if you haven't done that before. But yeah, definitely there's a place for half reps, partial reps, shorties, whatever you want to call them, without a doubt. Yeah, David, you know, and a lot of people, you know, you may say, again, I'm not going to, everybody's physiology is different. You know what I mean? We all have different makeups, but you know, 4 to 5 hours sleep, that's rough. And I've been there. Like I said, for the better part of my life, I did that. I worked shifts all over the place, you know, all different times of the day and night. So it does it. And early on, when I first started doing it, early on in my career, there was never really any talk about what, because in the beginning, what I used to do was every week my shift would change. I would work a day shift, which was at the time 8 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon. Then then I'd have a couple of days off. Then I'd come back in and I would work a week of 4 p.m. to midnight. Then I'd have a couple of days off. I'd come back and I would work midnight till 8 a.m. You know, so every week you were changing. That was horrific. I didn't realize it at the time. You know, I was, again, talk about having the benefit of youth on your hands. I thought it was fun. I was still going out a lot, you know, so again, but it catches up with you. Definitely catches up. Yeah, Ken. Well, yeah, that's the bottom line. If you don't eat it, you're not going to get addicted to it. If you don't drink it, right, you're not going to get addicted to it. Problem is, we're bombarded with, and we from an early age. I mean, I was at the park the other day. I was at a park and with my grandson, and there was two women there. They had their kids, and they had a box of Dunkin' Donuts. Those little, not big donuts. Those little belly bombs. Those what are they? I don't even know what they call them. You know what I'm talking about? They were like the little ball donuts, and they were chucking them in the kids' mouths, and then they were washing it down with some type of juice, which was just pure high fructose corn syrup. So they were eating sugar, they were eating seed oils, and then they were washing it down with sugar water. So we're getting it from an early age, but even it's everything. We're bombarded with commercials. You sit and watch a football game or a baseball game, right? What is it? Pizza commercials, wings, beer. It's just food on top of food on top of food. So yeah, it's easy to say, if you don't eat it, but once you eat it, once you eat it, it's hard to stop. That's the problem. Anderson, I do know Seven Fitness. We actually have a collab together. If you go back on my channel or go on Chris's channel, um, we got together a couple of times. I met up with him over in Long Island, where he's from, at his park, and we had a great day together. And then we did another one with our friend Evan, who's also from Staten Island. I'm sorry, Long Island. And yeah, we had another one. They actually came over to I'm in Jersey. They were over on Long Island. They met me over in New Jersey. We had a great collab together. So if you go back on my channel or on Chris's channel, you'll definitely see that the both of us were he's a great guy. As a matter of fact, we're overdue for another collab. Free, again, everybody's physiology is different. I don't know that you have to, I don't know if you have to sacrifice size, to keep off belly fat. It's really what it comes down to is dialing in your macros. You're always going to eat for a specific goal. If you're looking to lose body fat, um, but yeah, we all gain and lose fat at a different rate in different places. You may get it around the belly. You know, some people may get it the arms, the chest. Like and you really can't spot reduce. And you can't tell your body where to put it on and take it off. You know what I mean? But it really is what it comes down to is, and I've talked about this too before. Most people aren't willing to do it. To really, really research your food, take the time to track your food. I don't believe that we should be living our lives tracking macros, weighing food every day. But I think you should do it for some time, however long it takes you to get comfortable in knowing, so where you could eat instinctively and you kind of know what's on your plate. I have a piece of steak here. I know that's roughly 6 ounces of steak, so I know what that is. I have a potato over here and things like that. So you can live like that and you could maintain. But if you have a specific goal, in your case, I want to put on size, obviously you have to be at a calorie surplus, right? But you don't want it to be too much, because then you're going to put on body fat too fast. Because with the gain in size, if you're doing the proper training and you're at the right calorie surplus, you're going to build muscle. But with that muscle is going to come some fat. So it really is a balancing act. But I get you. Sometimes it's frustrating, and you say, well, I can't. If I put size on, if I try to get bigger, I'm just going to get put on belly fat. But there's a way to do it, but it does take. It's a lot of trial and error, but it definitely can be done. But if nothing else comes out of the process, you'll learn a lot about food, and a lot of it is eye-opening, because most of us don't even know what we're putting in our mouths. You don't know. You should kind of know things, because most of us are creatures of habit. So as much as we always say, well, I want to have variety in my diet, most of us eat the same shit over and over and over. So when you do that for a while and focus on that, you're going to kind of get to know what you're putting in your mouth, so. Uh, I don't have an aversion to UFC. I've seen a couple of fights, but it's not something that I follow. I was a big boxing fan for years and years, but UFC, I really don't follow any type of organized sports anymore. Just casually. If I have a chance, if I see a UFC fight, all well and good, but it's not something that I fight. Yeah, that's it, Frankie. Munchkins. Munchkins. Those are the ones. Okay, yeah, I don't know. No, he's good. Chris is a cool dude. He's a great guy. Whether he shaves his head or not, he's just a cool guy. Game Bros is in the house. What's up, Gusto? Yeah, guys. So that's it. Like the food is like a really big thing. And what are the other fundamentals we talk about is your stress levels. Plays a big part in your overall health, weight gain and loss. Because a lot of people think that, and at the end of the day, obviously it does play a big part, just the number of calories. So if I keep eating less food, I'm going to lose more fat. That's not always the case. That's not always the case. At some point, you'll starve yourself to death, of course, but you'll see people that'll start off with, you might have you know a lot of body fat to lose. It's going to be much easier in the beginning to lose that body fat, right? You have a little more wiggle room when it comes to it, but as your weight starts coming off, and that's the other thing, if you think that you're just going to cut your calories and lose more weight, that's what you're losing is weight. And when we say you're losing weight, you're losing a combination of lean body mass, which is muscle, and body fat. So you want to, if you're going to be looking to lose the weight, and when we say we want to lose weight, it's always going to be we want to lose body fat, not muscle or lean tissue. And the way around that, again, is what I was just talking about, is to know what you're eating, dial in your macros, get sufficient protein. You have to know that you're getting sufficient protein. And if you're getting sufficient protein, doing some resistance training, that's going to minimize that muscle loss, that lean tissue loss as the weight's coming off you, and your body's going to burn more body fat. So it behooves you to learn this stuff. Again, you don't have to become a food scientist, a researcher, an exercise, you don't have to get a degree in kinesiology. Just do the basics. Eat the basic food groups: meat, fish. I eat some dairy. I eat yogurt. You know what I mean? The basic stuff, but dial in the numbers and always look at your specific goal. And don't set these big lofty goals, maybe down the road, but weekly goals, monthly goals. Like I said earlier, when I was talking, when it comes to working out, to tell yourself that you're going to join a gym and start working out 6 to 7 days a week. You're not. You're not. I don't know you, and I know you're not. And you know you're not. You know you're lying to yourself. So start off and try and get in 3 days a week. Make a calendar and just put an X. And this week I want to get 3 X's on that calendar. And if you do that for a few weeks, now I'm going to try and get 4. Little things. Start tracking your food. Maybe you're not going to track every single meal initially, but start doing it and get a feel for it. And it's going to be eye-opening when you see exactly how much, the food that you eat, because if you look at, I was doing a thing the other day, and what was it? It was a big McDonald's Big Mac, a large Coke, a large fry, and one of those stupid ice cream swirly things that they sell. And it was 2,000 calories. Minimal protein. It was, well, I don't even think it was 20 grams of protein, give or take. And the rest was just, fat and carbs. It was horrendous. But I can come up with 2,000 calories worth of whole food that most people wouldn't even be able to finish in a day. But if you eat that whole Big Mac meal, which is 2,000 calories of shit, of God only knows what's in it, plastic cheese and French fries dipped in toxic oils, and God only knows what's in that stuff and what's in the meat. If you eat that 2,000 calories, a couple hours later, you're going to be starving because you're going to have a massive blood sugar spike from that, and then you're going to crash. And then you're going to be feeling hungry again. As opposed to taking 2,000 calories worth of whole food and eating that throughout the day. And you're going to be perfectly satiated. You're not going to, you're going to, You're going to have some blood sugar. Obviously, everything you eat is going to have an effect on your blood sugar, not this crazy stuff up and down, up and down. And most people won't even, if you saw the amount of food, if you take real whole food and I laid out 2,000 calories worth of it, most people would look at it and say, I can't even eat that. Mook, I never did a 7-day fast. No. You know what? When I got into fasting, really the intermittent fasting, I've done 48, 36, the occasional 24. Right now, I strive to just do like 16 hours a day, which isn't even fasting. It's just a normal way of eating, to be honest with you. So to call it a 16-8 schedule fasting, it's kind of ridiculous. But to most people, it is, because most people are eating 15 hours a day. From the minute they wake up, they're throwing something in their trap until the minute they fall asleep. And they usually fall asleep on the couch or in bed watching TV with a cup of ice cream in their hand, you know? So to do 16 hours a day without eating, and 8 of it is going to be sleeping, you know? So it's just a normal way of eating. But my days vary, you know, and I'll be honest, like some days it could be 14 or 15. Some days it'll be 18, maybe 20. But you know, my goal every day is to get at least hit that 16. And I feel good doing it. I feel good doing it. And Tim Effect is in the house. Guys, make sure you check out my friend Tim down in Florida. 69 years young, still doing it. Talk about putting the old guys to shame. Cheers, brother. So, yeah, guys. So, again, you have to look at the whole, you have to look at the big picture, right? There's no specific exercise if you're 30, 40, 50, or 60. It's the fundamentals. There's no specific diet. It's whole food most of the time. As often as you can do it, as often as you can get it. It's cutting down on stress as much as you can, which I know for a fact is to say it is simple. To actually do it in day-to-day life is not impossible, but sometimes it does seem impossible. But I've said this before many, many, many times on the channel, that for me, the number one thing when it came to cutting out stress was people, because that's where a lot of us get most of our stress from, people. And it's not worth it. If it's a friend, if it's an acquaintance, you know, you cut them. You got to cut them, because your health isn't worth it, because that stress is affecting you mentally. It's going to affect you physically, and you don't need people like that in your life. A lot of us have family members that cause us a lot of stress. A lot of stress. And it's hard. You know, it's hard if it's a family member just to cut them loose. But you minimize your time. If it's a family member that you live with, you really got to do some soul searching and figure things out and change your attitude, you know, change the way you deal with them. Again, and that's difficult, you know, changing the way that you deal with people, and because people get under your skin. But if it's a family member, a relative that you don't live with, and every time you're with them, they cause you stress, you minimize your time. You know, if you have to be around them, you keep it to a minimum. You know, I love you. You're my uncle. You're my cousin. You're my this. You're my that. I'll do what I can for you when I can. But other than that, you're not in my day-to-day life. Nobody is worth it to take away your health, your mental and physical health. It's not worth having anybody in your life that's going to do that to you. You know, the other thing too is, you know, we live in this, I want results yesterday, you know. So you got to be patient, and you have to realize that this is a long-term, it's a lifetime commitment. Your health isn't something that you do, go on a crash diet for a month, lose 20 pounds and say, okay, I'm good. Everything's good. If you're 25, 50, 100 pounds overweight, you have other things going on in your life other than just that you ate too much. What caused you to eat too much? You're certainly going to be under a lot of stress, physically and mentally, because that puts a lot of physical stress on your body. So you have to look at other things in your life. It's not just people just think, so many times I hear from people, how can I lose 20 pounds in 2 weeks? I just need to lose 10 pounds. Can you just tell me what to eat to lose 10 pounds? It's ridiculous, that train of thought. And so many times, and I've seen it many, and every one of you looking at me right now, if it's not you, it's a family member, it's a friend, you know somebody, you know people that have lost weight and gained it right back, and then some. Guarantee each and every one of you, if it's not you looking at me right now, if you haven't lost weight and gained it right back, you know plenty of people that have. Because you don't make it a long-term commitment. Your health is not a short-term commitment. It's a long-term commitment. It's a lifetime commitment. It's the one thing you have to commit to. Boot your girlfriend out of the house. You don't have to be committed to anybody for life. There's always a way out. But your health is a lifetime commitment no matter what. It's the one thing. That's the one thing in your life that's a lifetime commitment that you're never going to stop, is working on your health. Free, but I don't know, RX bars? I don't know what you're talking about with that. Can you explain that? Rio, you skinny fat? That's a pretty broad definition. But again, how you say you're skinny fat, how much fat do you have on you? I mean, normally, if someone's new to the game, someone's young and they just started working out, or even if they're older and they've never worked out, they can make gains. Generally, this is a generalization, but generally speaking, somebody who has never worked out is going to make gains quicker than somebody who works out on a consistent basis. Because once you've been doing it for some time and you've kind of gotten, that's not to say that you can't get to a certain level and then really ramp it up and do better. But generally speaking, somebody who's never done it, but in your case, I don't know, when you say you're skinny, I don't know how skinny and how fat you are. They talk about, I want to gain, most guys, I want to work out. And again, this is guys that with no experience. The first thing they say is, I want to lose weight and gain muscle at the same time. Slow your roll. Like I said before, we all have these lofty goals, but let's be realistic. If you buy an old house, if you buy a piece of shit car, what's the first thing you do? You strip that shit down to the bone and then you rebuild it. Right? So if you have that much body fat on you, I would work on my diet. That's not to say I'm not telling you don't work out. Of course, you work out every day if you can. But your goal should just be to work out, start building some strength, work on your flexibility and mobility. As that weight comes off, then you could start looking at more, go into more of a building phase, if you will. Right, start with the lower reps, the heavier weights and things like that, and you'll progress. But first and foremost, like I've been saying since I signed on a little while ago, the fundamentals. If you don't have access to the gym, get on the floor every day, do some push-ups, do some type of pull move, do some type of squat. It could be a squat, it could be a lunge, anything like that. Just the basics. And I promise you, they will work. And I promise you, they won't work if you don't do it consistently. But I can guarantee they'll work if you do them consistently. Got the hat from Amazon. When did I start getting into fitness? When I was a kid, when I was in high school, maybe like 14 or 15, we had a rickety old universal gym, if you remember that, the weight stack machines. And I fell in love with that thing. I would always play around with that. Then I got my first gym membership when I was 18 at the YMCA in my town. And I've been going ever since then to some degree, off and on. Rio, 20% body fat isn't too horrible. So, but if you're saying you're skinny fat, I'm guessing 72 when you 72 kilos. I guess you're saying there, right? So, what is that, about 104, about 150 pounds? If I'm doing a conversion right, give or take, and 20% body fat. So yeah, you're not horrible. I mean, I would just, I don't know that you have that much fat to lose. I think it sounds to me like you just want to put on some muscle. If you just add some, 20% isn't horrible. It's not a horrible, but again, it's relative. You know what I mean? It depends on you. That's where, because a 20% body fat on me, 20% body fat on my neighbor, and 20% body fat on Rio is going to look totally different. It's going to look totally different. So you have to do a serious assessment for yourself. But at the end of the day, if you're doing the fundamentals, you're eating whole foods, your body's going to find your body. If you're living on shit food, processed food, junk food, fast food, right? You're destroying your body from the inside out. If you can get to the point where you're eating whole foods, good food, a relatively healthy diet, 75% to 80% of the time, your body weight will naturally level off. Now, if you overeat anything, if you consume more energy than you burn off, over time you're going to gain weight. But if you're eating a relatively healthy whole food diet, it's so difficult. It's so difficult to become obese, to become overweight. So again, there's no magic pill. You know what I mean? And if you say, well, I'm going to do this guy's workout, this one work, it's not going to work unless everything else, you have to put all the pieces in the puzzle. It's the workouts. Number one is the diet. Number one will always be the diet. Number two is the exercise. They're 1 and 1A. The diet will far outweigh, when it comes to the importance of your overall health, diet will always far outweigh anything else. And again, it's going to be the diet, consistent workouts, reducing that stress, sleeping right. None of us gets a perfect 8 hours sleep every night. But you have to work on it. Just like I said a few minutes ago, these people that, well, I just want to lose 15 pounds. Bullshit. That's not going to make you healthy. It's not going to change your eating habits. It's not going to reduce your stress levels. It's not going to help you sleep better. Most people are, when it comes to women, they do it because, I have to go to a wedding, I have to go to a this or that, or a class reunion. And they just want to lose enough weight where they could squeeze into those Spanx like they're a can of Pillsbury muffins. And then they go to their wedding or wherever they have to go, whatever the affair is, and then boom, the next day it's back to normal. And then they got that 20, 30, 40 pounds right back on. You're not doing anything for your health with these short-term bullshit, fad diets, crash diets. What can I do to lose weight? 20 pounds, that's not it. It has to be a long-term commitment to your health. And there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle. Diet and exercise will always be number one. The stress levels, the sleep. And again, guys, we talked earlier about the TRT bullshit. And these guys injecting all these drugs into themselves for the quick result, and to take their selfies on social media. Right? It's not about that. But we're impatient. Unfortunately, we're impatient. Are free. I've yet to find a protein bar that's healthy. I would stay away from any type of protein bar. You know, eat some chicken, some fish. You know, if you're going to do some type of protein supplement, I always suggest whey protein isolate, a nice clean one. I don't have any skin in the game with this one, but there's one by Transparent Labs. Actually, if you go to the to my link tree there, I have an Amazon storefront. I'm not selling protein, but that's one that I actually use, and I suggest it to people that I work with. It's relatively clean, and the taste on it is pretty good. Whey protein isolate. The name of the company is Transparent Labs. But if you hit that link and go in, you'll see what I'm talking about. But I've yet to find protein bars, in my opinion, are complete shit. They're candy bars. They're nothing but candy bars with a little bit of added low quality. God only knows what they're putting, what type of protein. A lot of them have soy protein in them. So I would stay far. It's nothing but a candy bar. It's not going to do it's not going to do you any good. At all. It's highly processed and it's just shit. So no, I would stay away from protein bars. Yeah, David, P90X. P90X. Shout out to P90X. They paid me $1,000. That's a great program. I really, you know, that helped me a lot. My son and I did that together. I've told that story many times on the channel, and it's great. It's a great program. It's old. It's like over 20, it was probably about 20 years old now, that program. I think it came out. Actually, I think when it first came out, it might have been on what do you call it? It was a VHS tape. I don't even remember now. I actually still have the CDs. That was when CDs first started getting popular. Well, see, Rio, you just summed it up right there in that comment. You've been going to the gym, I guess you said, for a year and a half. But what? But not regular at diet, right? And some days you crash. So you're not being consistent. You're not being consistent. And I just told you that part of it. And I promise you, you think in your mind, and most people do. No, I don't have to be that. I could just do this and I could do that and I could look for the shortcut and I'm gonna go to GNC. I'm gonna go online and buy some bullshit supplement that's gonna get me over the top. It's garbage. It's all garbage. You're getting fleeced. Take that money that you're putting in the supplements and buy some real food. Buy yourself a piece of steak, buy some eggs. Learn how to eat and be consistent. The only way, guys, that it's gonna work, you could do everything I'm telling you to do. Everything I'm not telling you, I'm suggesting things that I would suggest you do. And if you take out that one piece of the puzzle, the consistency, it all goes to shit. So if you don't want to be consistent, if you don't want to put the time into your health, the most precious commodity on earth, if you don't want to put the time and effort into that, I don't know what to tell you. But if you take out the consistency, you're done. I promise you, you're done. You're spinning your wheels. Yeah, Ken. You know, the other thing too is, you know, talking about those extended fasts. I mean, if you're a big person and you have a really high body fat percentage, but the leaner you get, the harder it is to go. You know, if you're extremely lean and you're talking about doing like a 7 or 10 day fast, even a 5 day fast, that gets a little difficult. But I think if you're eating, again, I hope I'm right on this point. I mean, I feel okay from it, but again, I try to keep my diet as clean as possible. I do my 16, 18, whatever hours a day, the occasional 24. Um, I mean, and it seems to be working. But again, if you're somebody who's extremely heavy, um, and I've had people do it, um, get to the point where they were doing consistent 48-hour fasts, and if you have the body fat to lose, it's going to be coming off you like, for most people, really, really quick. But again, and it's not inherently unhealthy to do. Is it, your doctor will tell you it is, and oh, you can't lose weight. Yes, you can. If you have that much body fat, you certainly can. And if you have that much body fat, your goal should be to get it off your body as quickly as possible. But again, you have that rebound, because when you do that, if if you can do that, if you could do consistent 36, 48, 72-hour fasts, and you do that over the course of time and lose a bunch of weight, well, if you didn't learn how to eat, you're going to go right back to your old habits as soon as you're done. So what did you accomplish? Well, you made yourself hungry for a few weeks or a few months, and then you're going to go back, and everything you didn't eat over that time, you're going to make sure you get it in now, and you're going to get that weight right back. So with that comes it's the same thing we've talked about, like the bariatric surgeries. They don't teach these people anything about eating. They make their stomach the size of a walnut. They don't teach them how to eat, and then they send them home. And they think, well, I can eat pizza, but I have to eat that much pizza. And I could have a piece of cake, but only 2 mouthfuls. But what happens is that stuff is so addicting, you'll have 2 mouthfuls, and then you'll push it to 3. And then what happens is the stomach starts to expand again. And I know many, many, many people that have had that surgery, lost a shit ton of weight, and went right back to where they were. I know somebody who had the surgery, lost a ton of weight, had skin removal surgery, and after a couple of years was right back to what that person was, and then some. But now you have a body full of scars, and you're the same weight that you were before you went through all that. So you have to learn how to eat. Yeah, the total gym. I've seen that. That was around for a while, David. But that total gym, that never really appealed to me. I've tried it. I did try it, but I didn't. To me, it was a little clunky. You fasting now, Kenny? And listening to Trump? Okay. If that gets you through the fast, he is pretty comical, though. I'll give you that. Yep, discipline. It absolutely is. Rio, the motivation part is always going to come from inside you. I can't motivate you. Nobody can motivate you. I always talk about, like, there's inspiration and there's motivation. So you can look at somebody and get inspired and say, wow, that guy lost 50 pounds, and 6 months ago he couldn't do 1 pull-up. Now he's doing 10 or 12 or 15 pull-ups. And he built all this muscle and he's doing good, and that will inspire you. But if you're sitting on your couch watching this guy on a YouTube video, what's going to motivate you to get your ass up off the couch and go do it yourself? There's got to be something inside you that pushes you to do it. You know what I mean? And so many of us, we just sit there waiting for somebody to come along and, grab us by the hand and lead us along. And it's not going to happen. Nobody's coming. Nobody's coming. So you have to decide to do it for yourself. And trust me, I'm not 100%. And there's many, many days where, I don't want to do it. I don't feel up to it. But I don't think there's ever been a day where I didn't feel like doing it, and then I finally pushed myself to go do it, and then said, man, I wish I didn't do that. I wish I did stay sitting on the couch. That definitely didn't happen, because I feel great whenever I work out. And as far as getting results, like I said, you can't set these lofty goals because you're not, if you're 20% body fat and you describe yourself as skinny fat right now, you're not going to get results in a week or two or a month or maybe two. It may take you 6 months. You may have to dedicate a year of your life to do it, to really start seeing. But every day when you do it, set small goals. Like I said, I want to go work out 3 days a week. Take pictures. One of the things I do with people is every month you take a picture. Because you can't get on the scale. And that's the other thing. People, they'll wake up every single day and weigh themselves on a scale. That's lunacy. You will drive yourself into a loony bin doing that. If your goal is to lose weight, you weigh yourself every week on a weekly basis. You take pictures every month and you'll see. And then you're going to really see. And that maybe that'll motivate you. But there's got to be something inside you that's going to make you get up and do it. Do you really want it bad enough? Because if you're still sitting on a couch and you don't get up and do it, and you just told me you've been going to the gym, so obviously you have a gym membership. So if you don't get up and do it, it's all on you. It's all on you because nobody is going to come and save you. You have a phone in your hand or whatever you're watching me on, a computer or whatever. So you basically have the knowledge of the world right in front of you in your hand. So you can use that to learn. But to start, you don't have to learn too much. Push-ups, pull-ups, squats, eat real food, eggs, meat, fish. Pick one thing. Do you drink a lot of soda? Do you eat donuts every day? Whatever your poison is, pick one thing, just one thing. Don't revamp your whole life in one day. Pick one thing and work on that. Get that out of your life. Start slow. I'm telling you, it's like the snowball when you roll it down the hill. And it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And that's what's going to happen with you. Start small. Don't beat yourself up. You're going to have days where you don't feel like doing it. You're going to have days where you miss. You're going to have days where you say, well, I'm cutting out donuts, and then you go and you have a donut. It's going to happen. But keep going. And over time, it's compound interest. It's going to work if you do it consistently. Stop worrying about the quick fix, the results tomorrow. Thinking that you have to find a magic supplement. Thinking, I'm going to go get TRT. I'm going to go get whatever. The answer is not in the quick fix. The answer is in doing the right thing every day. And it's going to work. And you're not going to be 100%. So accept that. And you're going to hit plateaus. Accept that. But you keep going forward. Make it a way of life. Discipline, that's it. Ken. And that's part of it too, like I said, with the consistency. You start building discipline over time. We all don't start out with discipline. I'm not that disciplined I'm probably the laziest, least disciplined person that I know, to be brutally honest. But I don't negotiate, and when it comes to my health, that's the one thing that I won't back off on. You know what I mean? I can't. I was talking to Rio about the motivation. I have my motivation. I know what motivates me. It's in my mind every single minute of every day. Every minute of every day, I know why I keep doing what I'm doing to try and keep. I'm not saying I'm 100% healthy. I may crash and burn tomorrow. I don't know. Who knows? And all you guys are going to start laughing. Hey, remember that asshole old dog? He thought he knew what the fuck he was talking about. I don't know. But again, I don't want any of you guys to think that I'm standing here pontificating saying, if you don't do it the way I do it, you're not doing it right. I'm only here to say that I did it both ways. In my younger days, I burned the candle at both ends, in the middle. I broke the candle in half and started burning that on both ends. I did all the shit. I beat up my body. Believe me, I was running around like I could write a couple of books, at least. But I know what it is to live like that, and I know what it is to do what I'm doing now. It's a world of difference. I'm not smarter than you. I'm not genetically gifted. My family tree is probably, as strong as like Charlie Brown's Christmas tree. I promise you. Nothing I'm not doing anything that every single one of you watching me right now is not capable of doing. Nothing that I'm doing that you guys can't do. I promise. But I've been there. I lived like that most of my life. And then when I started making changes, it's a world of difference. And it took me time. Cutting out alcohol was a big deal. I was never a fall down drunk, but it was part of my life. I told you guys before, I was in law enforcement for 32 years. That's the culture. That's what we did. I worked these crazy shifts. You would get off work at midnight. Well, what are you going to do at midnight? The only thing open is the bar, and I live in Jersey, so the 24-hour diner. So you went to the bar, got shit-faced, and then I wound up in the diner at 3 a.m, having eggs and pancakes and whatever else. And I know what I was doing to my health, and I know how I felt back then. I know how I looked back then. It wasn't good. I much prefer what I'm doing now. Well, it's boring. I'll take boring. Believe me. I don't miss hangovers. I'm never going to miss a minute of time with my grandson because I'm hungover or because I didn't sleep all night or anything like that. I have the things in my life that motivate me. Each and every one of you can find something in your life to motivate you. Each and every one of you has something. It's not the same thing that motivates me, but you'll find something. You'll find something. Get fed up. Get fed up with yourself. Get mad. You're sitting there, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with watching a football game or a baseball game, but millions of people every single week, Monday night football, Sunday all day, Saturday college football, you're getting piss pants drunk, you're eating like an animal, young kids are overweight. It's fucking madness, and we normalize it. And if you're not doing it, you're the outcast. And I'm telling you, be the outcast. The answer is not to be part of the crowd, because I'm telling you, they're doing it wrong. They are doing it wrong. So, you want motivation, Rio? Go into any supermarket and just walk around and look at what people have in their carts. And to be blunt, look how fat and out of shape they are. Look how sick everybody looks. And I'm not trying to put people down. I'm talking the truth. Go do it. Go do it. And if I'm wrong, if you go, no, everybody looks good. I went to my supermarket, everybody looks good. Then email me and tell me, you're an asshole. You don't know what you're talking about. They're doing it wrong, guys. Just watch what they're doing and don't do it. In my case, I was doing it wrong for years. And now, all I have to do is look back at my, what I used to do, me 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago. And whatever I was doing back then, I don't do now. Eric LaPointe's in the house. What's up, brother? Okay. You can listen to me all day. Let's go Trump. All right. I don't know if I'm as entertaining as Trump, but appreciate that, brother. ZZ's in the house. What's up, Z? That's what it is, Frank. It's your why. That's what we're talking about, our motivation. It's your why. Pick something in your life. Do you have kids that are responsible for you? Do you have family members? Do you have a dog that's you're responsible for? You know what I'm saying? Something in your life that's going to motivate you. Your why. Find something. And that's what you have to do. The motivation comes from inside you. The inspiration can come from anywhere. From a movie, from a person, from anything. You can get inspired and feel like, wow, and you get all hopped up. I can remember when I was a kid going to the movies when Rocky first came out. We were all hopped up coming out of kids were running down the block, like, punching parking meters and everybody. I didn't go become a boxer because the motivation, I was inspired. And I said, and I'm as a kid, like, I want to be a boxer. You know what I mean? Well, an hour or two later, the motivation wears off. And that's what happens with us. You'll sit and watch and you'll see, okay, I could do that. I want to do that. I want to get in shape like that guy. I want to do that exercise. I want to do that workout. And then you put the phone down or you start watching TV or life goes on and then 2 hours later, you don't even remember. You don't even think about it. So there's got to be something inside you that pushes you every single minute of every single day. And you have to find that. You have to find it. All right, David, I'm sorry I missed you. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man. Oh, Kenny, man, I was a monster with the donuts. Jelly donuts were my poison. Chocolate covered was number two, but oh man, if I got a cup of coffee at Dunkin' Donuts, I always say they always had the special was a medium coffee at Dunkin' Donuts and they get in 2 donuts with it. But I always had to get that third donut just in case, so I would get my coffee with most days like 3 donuts. I was a monster with that. Shout out to you, Rio. Good luck, brother, man. I appreciate you being here. Shout out to India. Thank you, man. Yeah, Ken, it's the routine. It's the routine, the consistent routine, and you'll see when you start seeing those results. Again, setting these big, lofty, unrealistic goals. Set a weekly goal, a monthly goal, and you'll build momentum doing that. Ken, P90X. I did the program some years back, and so I did it with my son, and at the time he was 15 or 16, give or take. But my son and I actually did it together, and we started that. We actually started the day before Thanksgiving. I always talk about this bullshit, New Year's resolutions. Well, start today. My son and I started that when we did it the day before Thanksgiving Eve was our first workout. So we did the program, and my son lost about 40 pounds. I lost 25 pounds at the time. So they had a thing where, the transformation, you could send in your pictures. So I was so excited with my son. He did so well. I sent in his pictures, and then they sent them back and said, you had to be 18 to send your pictures in. So I sent mine in, and lo and behold, about a week later, I got an email saying that I had won $1,000. So I thought it was some bullshit where $1,000, but you have to do this, and jump through hoops and whatever. I thought it was some type of scam going on. Turned out it wasn't. I just they gave me $1,000 for the transformation. So I was happy with that, and it was legit. It was back, and they actually sent me a paper check in the mail, so it was for $1,000. If you go on Google, actually, and if you Google, just Google P90X, but then click images, and then if you go down a couple of rows, you'll actually see my before and afters there from it. But if you do that, if you Google the P90X and hit images, it's not too far down. Just a couple, usually a couple of rows down. Ken, I hit the sauce. I started drinking 40-ounce beers in the schoolyard when I was 14. And for the next 30 years, I was up and running. No, Eric, that's right. You can't. It takes time, but that shouldn't be a reason not to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, because it's got to be a long-term commitment. It's got to be a lifetime commitment. It's got to be a lifetime commitment. So, Ken, you and me both. I mean, you know, I feel better today. I think back to how I felt back then. And I worked out. It's not because I didn't exercise. I've exercised my whole life to some degree. You know, I had my peaks and valleys, but it was always some part of my life. But then I started to realize that, like I say all the time, your health comes from the inside out. And if you're pouring the shit down there like I was eating what I want. I could eat what I want because I work out, right? Boozing like a drunk ape, destroying my body from the inside out. And I thought because I went and did, you know, I was in the weight room, I thought that was going to fix it. And really, it only made it worse because, you know, like I said before, you have all this inflammation running through your body. I know I did. My knees out of nowhere. I would be working the midnight shift, and I didn't tweak it. I didn't do anything. All of a sudden, my knee would just blow up. You know, and I was taking Motrin, and I was taking Advil, all these things. It was madness. It really was madness. But it catches up with you. Now, for some people, you may be 25 years old and it's catching up with you. You may make it to 50. And that's why these guys are so complacent, because they may be 30, 40, 45 years old and say, no, I'm good. I'm okay. I'm not overweight. But you're doing the damage inside. Just because you don't see it on the outside doesn't mean it's not happening on the inside. But it's going to get you. It's going to get you at some point. Thanks, Ken, man. I appreciate you being here. I really do, brother. 33% of them don't know how to cook. All right, I'll take your word. That's I'm all about the numbers, and I'm always looking shit up, but I never looked that one up. But yeah, I believe that. I believe that. All right, Eric, but you're doing well, brother. You're doing really well. Shout out to you. Guys, make sure you check out Eric Lapointe, his channel. If he's not driving the tractor, he's doing burpees. So make sure you check him out. I'm telling you, Ken, and again, I'm not trying to sound like an asshole and make fun of people or anything, but go into ShopRite, go into Walmart, any supermarket, and look at the person and look what's in the cart. And you can almost tell. Don't even look at the cart, look at the person first. And formulate in your mind, like, okay, I can see what this person looks like, and then look at the cart. And it's all going to make sense. I promise. Thanks, Z. I appreciate that, brother. Hope you're doing well. 331, thank you. I try. That's what I'm talking about. We got to, do our best every day. Yeah, Eric, I gave up on sports. I used to have, like I said, I'm from Jersey, and I lived 15 minutes from Giant Stadium growing up. So way back in the day, I had season tickets to the Jets because at one point the Jets and the Giants played at the same stadium. So I had Jet tickets for quite some time. But again, it wasn't good. 331. I don't really understand that. How do I find? But I'm still young. You got to explain that, brother. I'm not quite sure what you're saying. Francisco says, just wanted to say, thank you, Francisco. I appreciate that, brother. Consistency is always key. Francisco is 1,000% right. It's always key. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Again, he's right there. It doesn't have to be. It has to be the fundamentals. You want to get crazy later on? Go get crazy. Master the fundamentals. Right? When you learn how to drive, you have your hands on a wheel at 10 to 2. You want to learn how to parallel park. You're real tentative behind the wheel. Once you get good, you can go drive NASCAR or whatever, an Indy 500, whatever you want to do. Start off with the basics and you'll build momentum. Eric, what are you doing wrong? Maybe I missed something there. Telling you, Ken, that mace bell is magic. I didn't even know what that was a couple of years ago, to be honest. If you said to me, hey, do you have a mace bell? I'd have to Google it and find out what the hell it is, but it's a great tool. Oh, Ken, that $1,000 is long gone, brother. That 1,000 is long gone. Oh, the source that no. I never ever did. I never did. No, I would never. And back in the day, there was I used to go to it was a World Gym when that was still, I don't even know if World Gym is still around. But there was a lot of guys in that gym, a lot of guys that were taking that shit. I honestly have never done it. TRT, I worked with guys. Many guys I worked with took it, the TRT. I would never do it. I don't begrudge anybody for doing it, but I don't want to have a conversation with somebody about health and fitness if you're on TRT. Again, it's a personal choice. If you think you're doing the right thing, I'm certainly not going to sit here. But for me, it's not the right thing. I would never do it. It's not on my radar. I have no. You can keep your testosterone. Again, if you're willing to put in the time and the effort. The thing is, it's like everything else. Everybody's looking for a supplement. Now, a supplement is something that is an adjunct to what you're doing. If you're doing things right, let's say, I want to you have a certain protein goal. And you say, I just can't do it with my food. I would say, okay, then do like a protein shake, get a few grams of protein. That's a supplement. I don't think you should be living your life drinking shakes or things like that to try and lose weight or to try and maintain your weight. That's no way to live. These things are just a supplement. You have a certain goal, right? But 99%, I can say without doubt that 99% of the supplements that they sell online, that they sell at GNC, all these other places are shit. You're throwing your money away. You are throwing your money away. If your testosterone levels are in the tank, it's because of your lifestyle, more than likely. I would bet anything. If I met somebody and they said, my testosterone's in the tank, the first thing I would look at is their lifestyle, and they don't do it. I have a friend of mine, I've talked about this before. He went to the doctor, and all he said was, I kind of feel tired, I don't have much energy. His testosterone level was, I would consider borderline. It wasn't super low. I was almost in the middle. He started taking TRT. And this is a guy I worked with for 30 years. And he actually got mad at me. I said, well, why did he tell you to take it? I don't know. He just told me to try it. I said, well, how long are you going to be on it for? I don't know. And I said, did you look up like the side effects or, what I said, because your body's going to stop producing it if you take it long enough. And he actually, this is a good friend of mine for 30 years. He got so irate with me. Like, I don't know, you call the fucking doctor and ask him if you think you know more than him. I don't. But if you're going to inject something into your body, at least know what you're doing and why you're doing it. And if your testosterone levels are low, it's for a reason. So look at that. I certainly raised my testosterone. I remember what my testosterone levels were some years back. And at 61, it's higher than I was at 40, than it was at 40. And I've never done TRT. I've never done steroids. So how did that happen? Because I'm fucking genetically gifted? No, because I changed my lifestyle. But people aren't willing to do that. They wanna still, if you want to use the term, no pun intended, have their cake and eat it too. Right? If you want to heal yourself, what do they say? What's the saying? If you want to heal yourself, ask yourself if you're willing to stop doing the things that are making you sick. Most people aren't. Right? That's why we have all these guys sticking needles in their ass. That's why we have all these people getting bariatric surgeries. That's why we have all these fucking lunatics sticking Ozempic, taking Ozempic shots, thinking that's going to cure their. It's because nobody wants to change, because change is uncomfortable. I don't like change. I don't like being uncomfortable. But some things for the sake of your health, you have to do. But they're willing to destroy their body. Ozempic and all this other TRT, steroids. You'll lay on a fucking table and let them cut your guts out because you don't want to stop eating cookies? So Ken, I didn't mean to go off on it. I've never done steroids, and I've never done TRT, and I don't plan on it under any circumstances. BG, thank you, brother. Appreciate you being here. Thanks for popping in. He only drinks on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Okay. So he's nearing 50% of the time. So he's boozing 50%, almost 50% of the time, right? So 40% of it, whatever the percentage is. What are you going to do, Ken? I mean, some people, and they'll justify it. They'll justify it. You know what I mean? No, I don't. Do you drink? No, only on the weekends. So you drink? No, only on the weekends. That's like, I brought this up many times. People, do you smoke? No, I don't smoke. Except when I drink. So you smoke? No, I don't smoke. Only when I drink. We'll say anything to justify the bullshit. We always find a reason to justify it. Because, BG, that's all they have for the most part. They always said, like, when you go to the supermarket, you want to shop around the perimeter. That's pretty true. Because if you get into the bowels of that fucking place, there's nothing but junk and garbage. Go up every aisle. Look at the kids' aisle with the cereals and the juices and the snacks and the candy. The breads. Right? Go to the frozen food section. Look at the shit that they have there that they're selling. It's unbelievable. The only thing in there in the frozen food section is going to be, legitimate, just frozen vegetables and frozen fruit with no additives. And then whatever is around the perimeter. That's where you're going to find the real fruits and vegetables, the meats. I'm thinking I'm going around the perimeter of my place. The yogurts and stuff like that. But 80 to 90% of the stuff in any supermarket is complete shit. It really is. But yeah, Ken, I mean, right. You talk about Thanksgiving, and it really is just another excuse to be gluttonous. Oh, it's Thanksgiving. So, I have to eat to the point, I have to go to dinner with fucking sweatpants on so I could untie the. or I have to eat to the point where I have to unbuckle my pants. It's lunacy. But if you're doing the right thing most of the time, and you do go to Thanksgiving and you have a few beers and you do go overboard, that's not going to negate all the other good stuff that you're doing. But you talk about your brother-in-law thinks, well, I drink Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but then I won't drink Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, so it's all good. No, it's not. It's not. That ratio is not good. 3 days on, 4 days off of booze, it's not a good ratio. It's not. Yeah, the ice cream. You know, with the ice cream, Ken, you saw that. I don't know if you saw that, but they had like it's Walmart. I think it was in Walmart. They sell these ice cream sandwiches, what they call ice cream sandwiches, that don't even melt. You got to check that out. I remember seeing it a while back, uh, but it's the pretty sure it's the Walmart brand. It's an ice cream sandwich, and if you take it out of the freezer and put it on a table, it doesn't even melt. But they call it ice cream. It really is out of control. You have to educate yourself, guys. You have to educate yourself. BG, I have not heard of New Zealand Whey. The only thing I really recommend is you want to get a good whey protein isolate. You know, the one brand that I don't have any skin in the game. It's just one that I've used and I've recommended it to other people and they seem to like it. If you go into, say, I just mentioned Walmart. If you go into Walmart and you look at whatever protein powders they have in there, I would stay far away from them because it's a bunch of shit. It's just a bunch of shit. The one that I use is called Transparent Labs. And again, if you hit that link tree down below there, I have an Amazon thing there, I don't have everything, but I have a lot of stuff that I use. It's legitimate stuff, just that I use day to day, some exercise equipment and whatever. But you'll find, if you look there, you'll see it's called Transparent Labs, and it's a whey protein isolate. It's relatively clean. There's not much in it. It's just the whey protein sweetened with stevia. But the taste isn't off-putting. I actually get the chocolate and vanilla, and they really do both taste pretty good. If you're looking for something and you want to try it, but the New Zealand whey that you're talking about, if that's a whey protein isolate, um, and you know, if there's not many ingredients in it, yeah, why not give it a try? But generally speaking, if you go into same thing with your food, it's the same thing with with the whey protein. A lot of times the ingredient list is going to look like that. It's going to be 5, 10, 15 ingredients. Stay away from that shit. Stay far away from it. Well, Rio, good digestion. If you're feeling bloated from something, it's usually going to come from the food that you're putting in, that you're putting in your mouth. Now, everybody reacts to food differently. You know, for instance, one thing that a lot of people, it's pretty universal. A lot of people tell you, say, eating broccoli, right? That's going to give you some gas. That's going to bloat you. Some people are lactose intolerant when it comes to dairy stuff. So my answer to that is, if it does that to you, then don't eat it. You're saying things like eggs and bread and chicken and rice. I don't know out of that what's going to bloat you. My you're talking of eggs, bread, chicken, and rice. The first thing I would look at is the bread. If it's store bought bread, it's shit. Uh, Again, you're gonna look at the ingredient list, and is why why does bread have 14 ingredients? If you get a good, if you really want to do bread and you get like a good sourdough bread, there's going to be 3 ingredients. It's going to be water, maybe 4. Water, yeast, the flour, and salt. and that's it. You go into any supermarket again, and when you're done looking at people's carts, go to the bread aisle and pick up the bread. What's healthy? So something that you think is some bullshit that says healthy, 7 grain, whole grain, blah blah blah. If it's in a supermarket, turn it over. Guarantee 10 to 12 to 14 to 15 ingredients. Put it back and walk away because it's shit. But what you just mentioned there, the first thing, so you have to start picking things out. Well, when I eat this, I get bloated. Try not eating it and see if you get bloated. And you're going to know that's what's making me bloated. And then you know what? Don't eat it. Give it up. Just give it up. There's plenty of other stuff you can find to eat. All right, guys. I think I overstayed my welcome here. Appreciate all you guys being here today. I definitely appreciate the feedback, going back and forth. Again, if you want to hit that link tree down there, we got some beautiful old dog merch. If anybody's interested in that, you can check that out. I do some one-on-one coaching. There's a link there. You can email me. Most of the stuff that I use on Amazon, again, just for informational purposes, I put that up there because a lot of people ask me. Whatever's everything old dog related is going to be in that link tree down below. Yeah, so that's it, guys. Again, I appreciate you all being here. Juan Perez. All right, Juan. Appreciate that, brother. I appreciate you being. Yeah, you can. Yeah, like I said, I do some coaching. You could hit me up with the. Just hit my email. Be more than happy to try and help you out, brother. All right. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate you popping in. Again, I appreciate all you guys for being here. Everybody, make sure you get your reps in. Everybody, stay safe. Most importantly, stay healthy. And I will talk to you guys in the next one. Thanks, guys.